It's the transformative power of education. And I've dedicated a decade of my life in the fight to make education more accessible. And the reason? If we ensured that every young person had access to quality education till secondary school, we could halve global poverty. But the reality is that 250 million young people are out of school today, and only 62% of students actually get to secondary school. Education is this incredible opportunity, this incredible way to make social mobility and access happen, but it's also such an unequal playing field. With these facts, I was born and raised in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia, and I sat in my first set of IGCSE exams, or international GCSEs that some of you may know, and realized that that exam that I was about to take was such an unequal experience itself. That I was getting access to an amazing teacher, a great school, the ability to access tutors if I needed to. And yet, just around the corner, there were students who couldn't get good textbooks, they couldn't get good teachers, and they were going to go and do that same exact exam in the same exam hall with the same HB2 pencils and face a very different experience. An exam that will determine their lives, their access to university, their access to careers. And I wanted to make a difference. So at the age of 16, I decided to do something. I brought a small WordPress blog to life, and on it I put up all of my revision notes and made it available online. This was ZNotes.wordpress.com. It was unknown, no one knew about it. There were a couple of students sharing it on Reddit threads and forums. But suddenly something happened, and it was young people realizing that there was value in the content, but there was even more value in coming together, in learning from each other and sharing together. It took me on a journey. Schooling in Jeddah, growing up to Pakistani parents, having that third culture kid, deciding to come to London to study this vibrant, incredible city, choosing to study a math degree, as my host very kindly pointed out. I looked like a mathematician, I wasn't sure, but did that, and along the way realized that ZNotes was something that was becoming a bigger amplifier of impact. It was starting to reach thousands and tens of thousands of students. And so I took a risky decision, a very different decision to Miriam. I decided that right out of uni, I was going to go and build ZNotes. I wanted to figure out how I could scale it. And for that next 4 or 5 years after graduating uni, I've been working on this full time. And alhamdulillah, today, ZNotes has transformed into the world's largest revision community of high school students that's reached over 6 million students and teachers in 190 countries. And our model, thank you, our model is based on 4 key principles. One is that it had to be openly accessible. It had to provide high quality learning content and make sure it was available at global scale. Number 2, I actually realized that the biggest learnings, both in my schooling but also in my university life, was when I was with my friends, when I was sitting around in lunch breaks and sitting together and solving problems. It was the peer learning that I was engaging in that was incredibly important for me, regardless of which school I went to or which uni I was in. Number 3, at 16, I was able to start to make an impact, and I had to make sure that I ensured that every other young person also had that opportunity. It was about empowering young people. Number 4, it had to be global first. We had to make sure that our content was available at the widest scales. And so we transformed into more than a startup, but a global youth-led movement where young people from all over the world decided to volunteer their times to create content. And today we not only serve those GCSEs and A-levels I studied, but 9 national and international exams all over the world. And for me, tech was an equalizer. It allowed me to reach the unreachable, to bridge access gaps, and really allow me to scale. Who could have imagined a 16-year-old's effort could be global? But technology enabled and amplified me to be able to do so. But 11 years, we turned 11 2 days ago, it's a long time. And how do you deal with such a long journey? How do you deal with continuing to build something that you were starting at a teenage year? There are 3 key principles that I often don't get to highlight because I'm not in spaces where I'm surrounded by my community. These are words I don't get to use, and I'm so grateful to be able to share them with you today. Tawakkul. The idea of surrendering yourself to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to allow yourself to understand that you're going into this uncertain journey. You don't know what the next steps will be, and yet there will be clarity if you push hard and you work towards something meaningful. Which deeply connects to the next idea, and this stage is named Ihsan, to do for betterment, to make and ensure that this is making a positive impact in others' lives. And these 2 Cannot be without the third and most important, probably the most hardest one, sabr. How do you go through this journey without having patience and resilience, having doors closed on your face, having people reject you for the way you look, the way you dress, the way you sound, and the religion you believe in? You need to persevere. But it is these three grounding principles that has made me a founder today and allowed me to continue to build beyond all these challenges ahead. But entrepreneurship, and particularly social entrepreneurship, is not a new idea. We like to westernize it and talk about all these different metrics and forms, but this has been happening in our history and our traditions from the very beginning. Consider Sayyidatuna Khadija al-Kubra radiallahu anha. She was the first Muslim believer. She was a businesswoman. She was an incredibly wealthy and successful businesswoman, and she did trade, but she took her wealth and applied it towards the spread of Islam. And consider Sayyidina Uthman Ghani radiallahu anhu. His waqf, his donations are to date generating income. The wadis, the wells, the bustans he's made available to the people of Islam are still creating income and making an impact on the lives of people today. So entrepreneurship, impact, and long-standing impact is not something that is disassociated in any way in our religion. In fact, it is the center of our faith. It is the very history and foundation of our faith. So what does this mean for us? What does it mean for me? Some of us, as we talked in the earlier presentation, are founders. Some of us are in corporate jobs. But that doesn't mean that we not are able to create impact in our own ways. I started to solve a problem that I really deeply understood. I was solving a problem that I could see around me. I had first-hand experience. And this is an important thing about making an impact. Solve where you stand and what you know. Become a problem solver from a problem owner. Those people who deeply understand those issues can make a solution that is scalable and impactful. Secondly, lead with ihsan. Even when no one is watching. It's the hardest thing to do. How can you push yourself to do the right thing when no one really looks at you? But that is our duty in our religion to keep doing so. And finally, turn your work into a vehicle for impact. For me, I wake up every single day, and the thing that gets me up every single day, I'm not like Maryam. I was not asked to get up at 7 a.m. to a trading desk, but I still get up at 7 a.m. And the reason for that is because I know that my work is creating impact, and in doing so, I am practicing my faith. Work should not be disassociated to your religion, and especially if you're working towards impact, it needs to be deeply connected to it. My name is Zubair, and I'm on a mission to end educational inequality for young people everywhere. Thank you.